I was watching my dog this morning. He was barking at the vacuum cleaner like it was, I don't know, a mortal enemy, just completely losing his mind. And then 10 minutes later, he's fast asleep, twitching, probably chasing rabbits in his dreams. And I caught myself thinking, I know exactly why he's doing that.
Right. It's instinct.
It's instinct. It's hardware. It's thousands of years of wolf programming running on a golden retriever. But then I looked in the mirror and thought, wait a minute. Am I any different?
That is the dangerous question. And if you stare at it for too long, it starts to look a lot like an existential crisis.
It really does. I mean, we walk around feeling like we're the pilots of this sophisticated vessel. We think we're making these rational, independent choices.
About everything. Our careers, who we date.
What we eat for lunch. But today's deep dive suggests that, a terrifying amount of what we call free will might just be ancient code running in the background.
It's a massive ego check. But it's also the key to understanding why we are the way we are.
So today, we are tearing into Steven Pinker's absolute giant of a book, How the Mind Works. And I want to be clear, this isn't just a biology textbook. This is an attempt to reverse engineer the human psyche.
Yeah.
We are going to try to answer the ultimate questions. Why do we see in 3D? Why do we fall in love? And why, for the love of God, can we solve complex physics but still forget why we walked into the kitchen?
It covers the whole spectrum. And to even start that conversation, we have to clear up the biggest sort of linguistic mess in psychology. Pinker is adamant about this right on page 1.
Okay.
We have to stop using the words brain and mind as if they're the same thing.
Which is tough because in casual conversation, they are the same thing. I say use your brain or use your mind, and I just mean think.
Right. But biologically and functionally, they're totally distinct categories. If you want to understand Pinker, you have to accept this computational theory of mind.
Okay, break that down.
Think of the brain as the hardware. That's the gray matter, the neurons, the synapses, the blood. You can put a brain on a scale. You could poke it with a stick, though I don't recommend it.
It's the physical machine. It's the laptop casing, the silicon chips, the fan humming inside.
Precisely. Now, the mind is the software. The mind is what the brain does. It's the flow of information. It's the data processing.
So you can't weigh a mind.
You can't weigh a mind. You can't touch a memory or hold a feeling in your hand. Pinker is saying that our mental life, our fears, our joys, our reasoning is essentially information processing.
Information processing sounds a little cold, though. It sounds like we're just walking spreadsheets.
It does sound mechanical, but it's actually incredibly liberating. Because if the mind is a system that processes information to achieve a goal, it means it was designed to solve problems. It's not magic. It's engineering.
And if it's engineering, we can look at the blueprints.
We can figure out how it works. And the architect in this scenario isn't some guy in a black turtleneck in Silicon Valley. No. The architect is natural selection, and this is the lens through which we have to view everything today. The mind wasn't designed to write poetry or trade stocks or scroll through Instagram.
No.
It was designed to solve the specific survival problems our ancestors faced on the African savanna for millions of years.
So when I ask myself, why do I feel anxious about this meeting? Or why can't I learn calculus? The answer is usually because that didn't help your great-great-great-grandfather kill a wildebeest.
Or avoid being eaten by one.
Yeah.
And Pinker takes this a step further. He argues against the idea of, general intelligence. We like to think the brain is this big, powerful, all-purpose supercomputer that can learn anything.
Sure.
But Pinker says, no, that's not how evolution builds things. He introduces the idea that the mind is a toolbox.
A Swiss Army knife.
That's the classic metaphor. Think about it. A tool that tries to do everything usually does nothing well. You wouldn't use a hammer to cut a steak.
Or a saw to brush your teeth.
Exactly. Evolution builds specialized tools for specialized problems. We have a module for visual perception, a module for language acquisition, a module for detecting cheaters in our social group, a module for fear.
And these modules, they operate independently. They don't talk to each other.
Oh, they interact, but they are distinct programs. This explains so many human contradictions. It's why you can be a brilliant physicist, high-functioning logic module, but have absolutely no social skills, or why you can be incredibly charismatic and emotionally intelligent, but you can't read a map to save your life. You have a shiny social module, but the spatial reasoning module might be the basic model.
This actually leads us to one of the most controversial parts of the book. I know this caused a massive stir when he first published it. He rejects the blank slate
Oh, this is a huge fight in sociology and psychology. The blank slate is the idea that we are born as empty vessels, white paper, and that culture, parents, and schools write our personalities onto us.
It's a nice idea. It implies we can mold anyone into anything.
It is a nice idea, but Pinker argues that it's biologically impossible.
Because if the mind is a toolbox, we have to be born with the tools already inside the box. You can't build a house if you show up to the job site with an empty truck.
Exactly. Take language. This is Pinker's home turf as a linguist. If the mind were truly a blank slate, you would have to teach a baby grammar the way you teach a college student coding.
You'd have to explain syntax, verbs, subjects.
Past tense, all of it. But you don't do that with a 2-year-old.
No, they just soak it up.
Yeah.
My toddler says things like, I runned away. We never taught him the word run. It's not a word. But he's applying a rule.
He's running a program?
Yeah.
That error, runned, that is the smoking gun.
Yeah.
It proves he isn't just imitating what he hears because he's never heard you say runned. He has an internal logic engine running that is looking for patterns and applying rules.
So he came into the world pre-wired to extract grammar from noise.
Yes. A puppy exposed to the same amount of speech will never learn to talk because it lacks the language module. We aren't learning to be human. We are activating the human software that came pre-installed.
And culture just fills in the details.
Culture fills in the details, whether you speak English or Japanese, whether you shake hands or bow. But the underlying machinery, the capacity for language, for shame, for love, for status seeking, that's factory standard. It's in the firmware.
I want to pivot to something that I found really validating in the reading. It's what Pinker calls the paradox of difficulty. Because we usually rate intelligence by how well someone can do things that seem hard, like advanced math or playing grandmaster chess.
Right, but Pinker just flips that on its head. He points out that the things we think are hard, like logic and math, are actually computationally simple. A $5 calculator can beat any human at math. But the things we think are easy, like walking across the room and picking up a cup, are computational nightmares.
It's the robot problem, right? We have AI that can write sonnets or beat us at Go, but we still struggle to build a robot that can fold laundry without falling over.
Exactly. And we need to really drill down into why that is, because it reveals so much about how the mind works. I mean, think about what seeing actually is. You open your eyes, you feel like you're just seeing the world, but what is your brain actually doing?
You're taking a picture.
It's so much more complex than a camera. Your retina is 2D. It's just receiving a flat sheet of photons, right? Just variations in light intensity. From that flat, messy data, your brain has to instantly invent depth.
Wow.
It has to calculate shading to figure out texture. Is that a hole or a black spot? It has to separate the object from the background. Where does the cat end and the couch begin? And it has to estimate distance so you don't bump into things.
And it does all of that in a fraction of a second.
It does trillions of calculations per second. But because that software has been refined for 500 million years of evolution, it runs in the background. It is totally invisible to your conscious mind.
We just take it for granted.
Because it works so flawlessly.
So seeing is actually the hard part.
Yeah.
But then why is something like calculus so difficult for us?
Because calculus is new. We didn't need to calculate the area under a curve to survive the Stone Age. We don't have a calculus module in the toolbox. So when we do math, we are forcing our general purpose neurons to do something they weren't designed for. It feels hard because we are doing it manually, clumsily, without a dedicated tool.
So if I'm bad at math, I'm not stupid. I just lack a specialized app for it.
You're running high-end, heavy software on hardware that was optimized for hunting, gathering, and socializing. It's a compatibility issue.
This mismatch, this idea that we are running ancient hardware in a modern world, that seems to be the root of so much of our misery.
It really is. We are running Pleistocene software in the 21st century.
Yeah.
And this is the core tragedy of the modern condition. Pinker talks about this extensively. Our environment has changed so much faster than our biology could ever keep up.
We spent 99% of our history in small tribes facing physical dangers, food scarcity,
and immediate feedback loops. Now, we live in a world of abundance, safety, and abstract stress. And the mind just doesn't know how to handle it.
Let's look at fear, because that's the most obvious one.
Yeah.
We all deal with anxiety.
Fear is a masterpiece of engineering. If you are walking in the jungle and you hear a twig snap, or you see a serpentine shape in the grass, your body initiates a fight or flight protocol. It dumps cortisol and adrenaline into your blood.
Your heart rate spikes.
It spikes to pump fuel to your muscles. Your digestion stops because, you don't need to digest a sandwich if you're about to be eaten. You are primed to explode into motion.
It's a survival override.
And it works great if there is a leopard. You run, you survive, the cortisol burns off, and you relax. But today the twig snapping isn't a predator. It's an email from your boss with the subject line, urgent.
And the body reacts the exact same way.
Identically. Your heart races, your palms sweat, your stomach knots up. But here's the problem. You can't run from the email.
You can't punch the email.
You can't punch the email. So that energy, that chemical cocktail, just sits in your system. We call it anxiety or stress. But really, it's a false positive. It's a smoke alarm going off because you're cooking dinner, not because the house is burning down.
And because we don't understand the mechanism, we think something is wrong with us. We think, why am I panicking? It's just an email. I'm broken.
We pathologize it. But the source material suggests we should view it with compassion. Your brain is trying to save your life. It's behaving exactly as it should to keep you alive. It just doesn't understand that a passive-aggressive memo isn't lethal.
It also explains our relationship with food, too. I mean, I know I shouldn't eat the entire bag of chips. I have the logic. I can read the nutrition label. But the impulse overrides the logic every single time.
Because the logic is new, but the hunger module is ancient. In the ancestral environment, calories were the limiting factor of survival. You never passed up a calorie. Sweet and fatty foods were rare and precious. Think ripe fruit or bone marrow. If you found a source of sugar, the best survival strategy was to eat until you were sick, because you might not find food again for a week.
So the brain rewards us with these massive hits of dopamine. It says, good job, you found fat, eat more, pack it on.
It thinks it's saving you from starvation. Now, put that ancient brain in a supermarket where a bag of chips costs $2 and contains 2,000 calories. The eat everything strategy, which used to be a survival superpower, is now a death sentence.
Via obesity and diabetes.
Yeah. The tool isn't broken. The environment is just upside down.
It really makes you realize how much of a battleground the mind is. It's not just one voice. It's a committee. And the members of the committee are from different time periods, and they all have different agendas.
And they are often shouting over each other. This brings us to the role of emotion, which is another area where Pinker completely changes the narrative. There's this persistent myth, and I kind of blame Star Trek for this, that emotions are the opposite of rationality. That to be smart, you need to suppress your feelings and be pure logic.
The Spock fallacy. Live long and prosper, but don't feel anything.
Pinker tears this apart. He argues that emotions are not bugs in the system. They are the primary guidance mechanism. In fact, he argues that emotions are a form of logic.
But how is rage logical? How is jealousy logical? They just feel messy.
Think about computational cost again. If you were a purely logical robot and someone slapped you in the face, you would have to calculate infinite variables before reacting.
What is the cost of retaliation? What are the legal implications?
Will this person strike again? What's the social hierarchy here? What's the probability of injury? You'd be paralyzed by the data processing.
You'd buffer until you got hit again.
Exactly. Evolution can't afford buffering. So it gave us rage. Rage is a macro. It's a prepackaged program that says, if attacked, inflict cost on the attacker immediately to deter future aggression.
It bypasses the slow deliberation.
It bypasses it and executes the action. It solves the problem of what do I do instantly. So emotions are shortcuts. They're heuristics.
They're goals.
They're goals. Logic is just the map. Emotion picks the destination. Without emotion, logic is useless. Pinker discusses these case studies based on Antonio Damasio's work of people with damage to the frontal lobes who lose their emotional capacity.
Right.
You'd think they would become hyper-rational geniuses, right? The perfect stock trader.
You would think.
But they aren't. They become helpless. They can't make decisions. If you ask one of these patients what they want for lunch, they can stand in the cereal aisle for hours comparing cornflakes.
Really?
They can tell you the price per ounce, the sugar content, the color of the box, but they can't pick one.
Why not?
Because picking requires a preference. It requires a feeling that one is better than the other. Logic tells you what is true and what is false. It does not tell you what is good or what is bad.
Wow.
Without that emotional kick, that subtle feeling of, I want that, logic is just a spinning wheel.
That is a complete flip of the script. We usually say, don't get emotional, be rational. But you're saying we literally can't be rational without being emotional.
Emotion assigns value to the variables. Without value, everything is just data. You need the gut feeling to break the tie and actually move. Love, fear, disgust, these aren't interruptions to our thinking. They're the engine that drives our thinking.
So I want to bring this back to the listener. We've covered the toolbox, the mismatch of the modern world, the necessity of emotion. If I'm driving to work listening to this or doing the dishes, how does this reverse engineering change my day?
Well, I think it offers a profound kind of self-forgiveness. We spend so much time beating ourselves up for our glitches. Why did I get so angry at that traffic? Why can't I stop scrolling social media?
Why am I so obsessed with what my neighbor thinks of me? We view them as character flaws. We think we're weak.
But if you look at it through Pinker's lens, they aren't flaws. You're a biological machine working exactly as designed. You care about your neighbor's opinion because for a million years, social exclusion meant death. You scroll social media because your brain is desperate for novel information, which used to be a massive survival advantage.
It creates a bit of distance, doesn't it? You can look at your own anxiety and say, okay, I see you, amygdala. You think we're being hunted? We aren't, but I appreciate the effort.
Exactly. It allows you to be the observer of the machine rather than just a cog in it. You can acknowledge the signal without obeying it. You can say, my ancient brain wants that donut because it thinks winter is coming. I know winter isn't coming, so I can override the signal.
It's almost like we have to parent our own minds. We have to be the adult in the room for this inner caveman who is constantly freaking out or looking for sugar.
That's the deep dive takeaway. The mind is a beautiful, messy, archaic museum of tools. It's not optimized for 2026. It's up to us to learn the manual so we don't let the autopilot drive us off a cliff.
And that leads to the thought I want to leave everyone with today. We like to think we are in control. But if your fear is an automated response, and your attraction is a calculated gene replication strategy, and your hunger is an ancient calorie-seeking algorithm, I have to ask, how many of the choices you made today were truly yours?
And how many were just the software executing the code?
Something to chew on while your ancient visual cortex calculates the trajectory of the cars around you. Thanks for diving deep with us.
Always a pleasure.
Stay curious.
Right.